Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. Well, that was well worth the wait, wasn't it? 2 weeks and a weekend for that tonight. It's Chris back with a post-match review. And surprisingly, Mark has jumped on as well, as it's a late one. It's not the normal Monday night show. It is the post-match review of what was an absolutely turgid display by Newcastle United at St James's Park tonight, going down 2-0 to a pretty rubbish West Ham, really not particularly great in form West Ham, and beat us with relative ease, to be honest with you. We're going to get stuck right into this in a minute, talk about how the game was lost, and give your opinion on it. You're live tonight, as always, guys. Jump in the comments and let us know. And if you haven't already, smash subscribe. Come help us get to the 9,000 sub mark. We're really close, actually. We've had a few more subs coming back to us, which is awesome. Thank you so much to those who have returned and those new subscribers who've clicked the button. We love you. Thank you so much. So let's get stuck into tonight, Mark. This is how we lined up against West Ham. Obviously, the one enforced change was at the back. It was Lloyd Kelly coming in. More on him in a minute. Not a good night for Lloyd Kelly. I think I would have rather had Kelly Clarkson at the back than Lloyd Kelly tonight. Should have more chance of getting to those goals, to be honest with you. But Lloyd Kelly came in. The team stayed the same. Some surprising subs on the bench there. The return of Kieran Trippier and one Callum Wilson, who actually didn't look too bad when he come on, to be fair. Obviously, West Ham's big player that we're missing was Kudos, that I totally forgot about in the preview. He went around slapping everybody in sight, and I completely forgot all about it until Mark messaged me afterwards and said, bloody hell, what are you talking about? He's not even playing. So West Ham, on paper, Mark, we should have beat these guys comfortably. And we started well. We started with confidence, with zip. Lewis Hall getting the ball. Obviously, Isak gets a goal. Lovely finish, which is probably rightly ruled offside, and then they get their goal out of nowhere, and it's that man Lloyd Kelly, Mark, again. What on earth is he doing with that set piece, man?
Evening, everybody. First time I've spoken already tonight, and we're a couple of minutes in, so
don't worry, it's going to get worse. It's going to get progressively worse, mate, as it goes. Don't you worry about that.
Where do I start with Lloyd Kelly? You have one job at that corner. You at that breakdown. You have to defend that man, and Souček has that ability to get into those positions to score goals. We've seen that before. It's his. He lets him go, and it was kind of a prelude to the rest of the night, because there were a number of things that he did wrong. But it's such a poor goal to give away from a defensive point of view. It's so frustrating watching that, because you're right. The start of the game was really bright, really positive. The goals disallowed. There were a number of other sort of good opportunities of Newcastle breaking forward, and you just thought, there's goals in this. I mean, one comes, it could have been three or four, and you go, well, that's the mentality to go with. And then the goal is just an absolute, well, for want of a better way to put it, a hammer blow, because it just rocked the team.
And that was the big concern for me. We'll get into the second goal in a minute, but the big concern for me is the mentality, Mark. It's the mentality after the goal. The heads just completely dropped. I mean, I was starting to think that the kind of desire and will to win, they left in the fucking checkout at Newcastle airport on the way back from Saudi, to be honest with you. Somebody left it in the baggage storage or something like that, because they just did not look like they gave a shit, really. They really didn't. I mean, man of the match, there's not many pickers. I'm going to go early. It was Lewis Hall, because he was the only person, him and Bruno, who looked like they actually give a fuck all night, to be brutally honest. And that was a real concern for me. That was a real worry. We often get criticised for not digging out what you would call the star players when we do these things. Pass me the shovel, because I'm digging tonight, because Anthony Gordon tonight was dog shit, absolutely dog shit. He ran around, and I've said this about Miggy Amon, he ran around like a dog at the beach chasing a tennis ball, fucking left, right, no purpose, players were dropping shoulders, sending him for a hot dog. He looked as bad as his mullet haircut tonight is what Anthony Gordon looked like. He was fucking dreadful. He went on the left, he was honking. He went on the right, he was honking. Joe Linton couldn't really get into the game. He was, I don't know what he was doing. He wasn't really taking players on. West Ham were crowding him out. I mean, to be fair, West Ham, I think did a job on us tonight. I think they scouted us. I think they knew what we were going to do. I think they sat back and let us come on to them. Obviously, if they got that offside right with Isak's goal, because if they fucked that, they would have been in big trouble, because if that goal goes in, it's a different game altogether. But they held their line really well. I thought Wan-Bissaka played Willock brilliantly well in the first half. He pretty much nullified Willock in the entire game with them big, long, gangly legs of his, the bastard. He's made out of elastic, Wan-Bissaka, really, to be fair. He seems to make a tackle from the halfway line in the box with them fucking gadget legs of his. But he did very well, and West Ham dug in well, and they still had the quality, of Jared Bowen and obviously Miguel Antonio is not the player that he used to be, but he's still good at occupying defenders and getting stuck in. And he was getting stuck into Kelly, and Kelly was getting stuck into him. And I will say Kelly on the ball is very tidy on the ball. He's got a better touch than Dan Burn, but that's not hard. My pissed uncle's got a better touch than Dan Burn, to be fair. When he's had a couple of whiskey chasers on the way out the bar. But Burn's a better defender, no doubt about it. He reads the flight of the ball better. He gets himself in better positions. Kelly all over the place tonight. We have our chances as well. There's a couple of chances, Mark, as the game goes on. I think Lewis Hall's trying to get on the ball. The couple of times that Gordon actually spies his overlap and run. He puts a lovely ball across the box, nearly makes something happen. Isak gets a brilliant chance. I think Bruno puts it through. He has a volley, which I'm screaming, how has that not gone in, that volley? How was it not gone in? And I know it was a really difficult chance because it was slightly behind him, but fucking hell. I mean, he's got to put them away, Mark, hasn't he? If he's going to be the player that we all think he is, he's got to put them away.
Yeah, you'd expect, but I know the ball's slightly behind. He has to take that touch, and then it makes it a little bit more difficult. But you almost bank it, your house on it, wouldn't you? With Isak in front of goal like that. I felt it was just a proper lack of quality in that final third tonight. Balls into the box 100%. Just weren't right.
As Tim says there, we were a shambles in the final third, as Tim says.
Yeah,
shambles.
Absolutely dreadful. Just the wrong choice. I mean, Lewis Hall, a couple of times, the balls to that ball through he played for Isak, who's just offside. I mean, it's not much. But he was about as good as it got. The ball he puts across, I think he's having a shot that takes the deflection and goes out for what should have been a corner but wasn't given.
Couple of
that was it. Gordon was just completely anonymous. I mean, you said Sean was anonymous the only thing Sean Longstaff did for much of the night was injure Joe Willock.
Well done, Sean.
The first 23 minutes, all he did was injure Joe Willock. So that we'll put to bed that Newcastle win because Sean Longstaff plays, but that's an easy target for tonight. And it's not his fault. He was one of, probably 9 players that come out of that game without much credit whatsoever because they were, to a man, they were just awful. But you're right. I mean, you said Gordon was just, I don't know what was wrong. And I think I saw a comment earlier, and it might have been you actually that put on socials about him waiting for the moment that somebody says he's got a knock. It might have been one of the comments earlier on. And you almost look at it and go, well, actually, yeah, because he was so poor. He was so off the pace.
He got a kick straight away, if you noticed, right at the kickoff. Wan-Bissaka stuck one right on the back of his, it was either his calf or his Achilles. He stuck one right on him within the first 10 seconds of the game, almost as if I'm going to fucking stick one on him early. Old school style. And I kind of think that might have affected Gordon, to be honest with you. But the Crimson Lips had enough. He says, duck and shit show. Fucking rubbish, mate. Absolute quackers. I love predicted text. Fucking you dropped that. I know what you mean, Crimson Lip. I know what you mean. But going into the second half, obviously, we're all screaming for change. We all think Tonali's going to come on for Sean, who's the invisible man. There'll still be people who are defending Sean. Listen, now, I'm not digging Sean now. I like Sean as a kid. I like him as a lad. And when he works hard, when he's right for a game, as we've said, he is a very functional member of the team. It allows other players to go and play their game. But when you're in a game like that where you need someone to get in the ball and make something happen, that's not Sean's game. Sandro came on, but the game was gone by that point. By the time Sandro came on, I think we were 2-0 down. Wan-Bissaka goes on a little wander. Jared Bowen's got the ball, sucks in Harvey Barnes, who looked a lot brighter, didn't he, Mark, when he come on, by the way, Harvey Barnes. I thought we'll get him on
immediately.
Yeah, in a second. We'll get back to Barnes in a second, but he sucks in Lewis Hall and Barnes does Jared Bowen. Simple pass through. Nobody even attempts to close down Wan-Bissaka, of all people. Stout Stagger saying, was Pope to blame for the second goal? I'll get your opinion in a second, Mark, as a resident keeper. For me, it's Lloyd Kelly. What the fuck is he doing? Is he auditioning for Strictly Come Dancing or something? He stands back. He puts his fucking hands behind his back. He drops his shoulder. He sticks his leg out like he's playing field hockey. And Wan-Bissaka just hits it in off the post. And Sean Longstaff suddenly appears, like the guy who got yesterday's newspaper. And you go, no, it's all right, Sean. I don't need it, mate. I read it. You know what I mean? You're here 10 minutes too late. And then the ball's in the back of the net. And that's another shocking goal by Newcastle. And again, Lloyd Kelly's at fault for me, Mark. Do you blame Pope for his positioning like Stout, or what's your take on that?
It's difficult, but I mean, maybe, I don't throw a lot of weight at Pope for it. I throw more weight at Lloyd Kelly again, because I'm sorry, you go and block the shot. Get your body in front of the ball and stop the shot. It's as simple as that. He stops. Yeah. He just allows Wan-Bissaka to get the shot. Yeah.
Great shout, wise guy. Great shout. January can't come soon enough, mate.
I genuinely don't understand what his thinking was, because yes, you can argue, that you play for the ball across the box, but at that point you can see what's coming, and you step out and you go and block the shot, and it's just awful defending. Again, that's both goals that then fall on Lloyd Kelly, because he's had a moment where he's just completely switched off, and it's really cost. So no, I don't put an awful lot on Pope. I thought Pope did all right tonight. I mean, there were a couple of moments. I mean, I texted you
what he could.
His first touch is shambolic.
Do you know, Mark? I'm sorry to cut across you, but we should have fucking made an effort for Managerial then, a keeper that can use his feet, rather than letting Liverpool sweep him up like they did. Again, the club's standing still and sleeping on a replacement for Pope. Never mind fucking James Trafford. I know you rate the kid, but fuck that. Managerial was sitting there for 40 million quid, and we should have moved on it, because Pope is gradually getting worse and worse as an overall modern day keeper. Not as shot stopping, his overall play as a keeper, as sweeper keeper. When he comes out, I shit myself when he's got the ball. Unless Fabian Schär is within 10 yards of him, or Lewis Hall or Dan Burn, I shit myself at the thought of him kicking a ball, because I think it's going to come straight back or it's going to go out of play.
Yeah, I do have that panic moment as soon as the ball goes back, and especially if the 100%. Ball's bouncing. If the ball's on the deck, it's not quite so bad. But if the ball's bouncing, I mean, you saw the second half where he takes that touch and then has to use his left foot to play it across to. I think it's to Tino. It's just, I mean, I'm on the verge of panic every time that happens. But
Tino's touch ain't great either, by the way, for a fullback, a modern day fullback. He's got pace to burn, and he's starting to whip balls across the box, but his touch is awful. They need to work on his touch, because his pace gets him out of trouble. We used to dig Yedlin. We should dig Yedlin up for it, because Yedlin's touch wasn't great. His pace rescued him quite a lot. But Yedlin looks like fucking Cafu compared to Tino with his touch, because Tino's touch is awful. Every touch he makes is 3 yards away from him. Good shout by Vincent. Bruno did get his pocket pinched a lot. I don't know whether that's a lack of communication on the pitch. Was nobody shouting man on, or was it Bruno overplaying, do you think, mate?
I mean, the one he gets caught out for the goal, it's difficult, because the balls come to him from a header, and he's trying to take the ball sort of on the turn. But that wasn't the first time. There were a number of times that he just dwells, that he went to play a ball later on, and you can see him winding up to play the pass out to the left. And you can see the West Ham player coming in from a mile off. Who the fucking hell is shouting at him to tell him that player was coming on? The crowd did it. Nobody.
Yeah, but he heard it too late. He heard it too late with the crowd shouting it.
That has to come from a player along with him to tell him sooner that he has to play that ball quicker. But don't
you think that's a lack of characters on the pitch, though? Where, we don't have a player like, a Kevin Nolan anymore, or, I know he's a fucking maniac, but a Joey Barton or somebody who's got I know that's a bad reference, but somebody who's got a bit about them to shout, fucking Bruno, man on, stop fucking around, do something with it. It's almost like the players around him are in awe of Bruno too much to shout at him, to tell him to watch what he's doing. I mean, Joe Litton might do now and again in Portuguese, or it may be, but Sean's not going to shout at Bruno. Sean's that kind of a player. He's a very quiet man on the pitch. We need somebody to fucking yell at him and say, stop fucking around. And to be fair on Bruno as well, didn't look good that when he come off. He went straight down the tunnel. And if that's an injury,
that's
I think so. Yeah, somebody said Louis Miley's injured as well. I think that's why he missed this game, why he wasn't in the squad. I don't know if that was true or not.
I think Craig Hope put on socials beforehand that it wasn't an injury. It was just purely a decision just to bring in the likes of Wilson and stuff onto the bench.
To be honest, that's disappointing as well, I think, because we had Matty Target and Trippier on the bench. I think there could have been room for Louis Miley. I said that at the start when I put it on Blue Sky. I said, I'm disappointed that Louis Miley isn't in this game, because we needed players to get in the ball and do something. But Keith Truscott's got a good comment there, Mark, that Hammers came to play and we stayed on the bus, sort of shite, just not good enough. I think West Ham came here with a definitive game plan, and we got wrapped up a little bit in the euphoria of 3 wins on the spin. We've had a good run of results against West Ham. We all said it. All of us have said it. All the content creators, everybody going to the ground tonight, everyone having a pint on the way in the ground probably said, hey, we fucking got these these lot, we'll have these. And I think West Ham almost absorbed all of that and just went, all right, we'll see. Yeah, and you've got to give their manager some credit there. I think he set his team up very well to counter Newcastle United. But going on to the only kind of bright sparks of the game, Harvey Barnes comes on, looks sharp as anything, Mark. He's straight away. He's trying to affect things. He's put a couple of really good crosses across. Isak's got glue on his boots. He's not really moving very quickly. I don't know what the fuck Gordon's doing. But he's whipping crosses in. He couldn't quite get a shot off, could he? Credit to West Ham as well. They were very, very conscientious of Barnes shifting it to his right foot. You could see them closing an angle down every time. But Harvey Barnes looks sharp again. And given how crap Gordon was, would you be tempted to start Barnes in the next game over Gordon?
He certainly looked more of a threat. I know it didn't come to an awful lot, but in that first 10 minutes of the second half, I just thought he looked lively. He looked like he'd come to play, and you thought there's definitely a route back. And again, sucker punch came with the goal, but he's form wise on a showing from tonight. Yes, I mean you would start him absolutely. I don't think there's too much of an argument then. And Gordon was just so poor. And maybe it was the knock from early on. I'll be honest, I missed that.
Or international duty, just burning them out. There's a few comments for Big Dan Burn. Do you think we really missed Big Dan Burn tonight, mate? Just his leadership as well as his defensive prowess?
It's strange, isn't it? Because you go for so long and say, especially when he was at left back, and going, my God, he kind of got him out the side.
Get him out the team.
Mainstay of the back four. But that I think a lot of it is that continuity at the back, isn't it? That back four looked really good with the way there's and Burns a voice that will shout as well. He's not going to stay quiet. And
he'd have shouted at Bruno. He'd have shouted at Bruno for that chance, 100%. Yeah.
And I think as well. I think if you've got a player like Trippier in position where they can do that, he's got a voice that will do that too.
Yes,
I do think you're right. I do think there's a lack of leadership at times, and particularly tonight. I know you said it sort of in the chat. The mentality of the players, the way that the heads dropped,
that worried me. That really worried me.
That period after both goals, where instead of picking up the intensity to get back into it, they sat back. They lost themselves. They got rattled basically, and couldn't get their way back into it for 5 or 10 minutes. And that's really disappointing to kind of see from him, because at that point you want them to stand up. You want them to take responsibility. And
you want a reaction. Mark. You want a reaction. You want something. And it almost felt like we've just come back from a pre-season kind of a thing. That's what it felt like. It felt like no one had their rhythm.
Rusty. Exactly.
It felt like there was rust there. Obviously the international break came at the wrong time for us. Probably the right time for West Ham to work on something. But comment here from Trevor, this is the kind of thing that Howe's not going to get away from. Trevor's obviously not happy. He says, Howe the genius that he decided to bring on our £55 million Italian international at 2-0 down for an abysmal Longstaff. His dwelling on the ball tonight and atrocious passing was him at his worst. And this is the problem. And I've talked about this before, and even before the game, there was people giving it big licks. And I did a preview, didn't I? And I said about how Sean has played himself into the team and he's becoming an effective member of the squad. And we had somebody in the comments going, he's taking off Longstaff. Well, if Longstaff plays well, then people like me will say he deserves his place in the team. If Longstaff puts in a shift like that tonight, he doesn't deserve his place in the team. And neither does Anthony Gordon. I just talked about whether I should drop him for Harvey Barnes. If you're not putting the shift in the shirt, you can't just expect to have the shirt. Doesn't matter where you were fucking born. But Sean tonight, I don't remember him doing anything. Maybe dwelling on the ball like Trevor says there and losing the ball a little bit. I don't really remember. I think the header that he tried to have at the back post, I think was about the highlight of the game when he ghosted in and he gets in there in the header. And that's the kind of thing that Sean should do a lot more of, and he can do it. He's capable of it. But tonight the game passed him by. I think as the game went on, Paqueta, Bowen, they grew into the game and our players shrunk. And that was the problem. And that was the real worry for me. That, they all seemed to shrink. Everyone seemed to go missing. Nobody had the balls to do something. Like Barnes actually tried to get a shot off, or he tried to get a cross in. Lewis Hall was trying to make something happen. At one point, he tries to fucking whip one in the top corner, Lewis Hall, and that would have been an absolute belter if he got that off. But, the big players, just nowhere to be seen, man. I felt a bit sorry for Isak in a way because, I think outside of Tino and Hall in the first half, nobody played that ball he was looking for down the channels for him to just run in and get it. And how many more times are we going to have a team that can't give Isak the ball? And no wonder he hasn't scored as many goals this season. We are not geared up to play to our best players' strengths. And that's something the managers needs to sort out quick, Mark, or we're going to lose more games than we win.
Yeah, it is. Fundamentally, that's what you have to do with football, isn't it? You play to your players' strengths, and for a lot of the time they've absolutely done that. But it's telling when things are right. You need to get Isak in the positions to do 100%. What he can do it, and they just don't, or they haven't done enough of that all season. If we're really honest. Before I go on, I just want to quickly.
I was just going to say, speaking of gifts.
Yes, what a legend! Thank you very much, mate, and obviously to the 5 people you've gifted those memberships to. That's really, really generous to you. Really and also Croc the Crocodile, great name.
Oh, what a name!
Welcome to the squad as well. So yeah, thank you for that.
And by the way, this is a night for brilliant names because The Rock Says is one of the best handles I've ever seen on YouTube. It takes me back to my 90s. I used to work at a nightclub, as Mark used to work in a late bar as well. And the WWF was like our fucking Coronation Street, The Rock Says. So we used to come by, watch it all the time. But he just said the Premier League has been full of shocks so far. Ipswich beating Spurs away, West Ham beating Newcastle away. You're absolutely right, The Rock Says, and great name, by the way. But yeah, for me, it just, like I say, Mark, it's so disappointing that, we're being away. We should have been recharged, refreshed, ready to go. The players who were in national duty should have had enough, time to kind of, get themselves right mentally, physically, and all of that. And to put in that performance tonight, and we started so well, and just to drop off, that's the more concerning part. If we started from minute one and we were dog shit the whole game, I probably would have been like, we just didn't turn up tonight. West Ham were a better side, but because we actually started the game strong and looked a better side, and for large parts of the game we used the ball better, we were in better positions, we were transitioning better, we were doing everything better than West Ham except for the effective things on the football pitch. And that to me just isn't good enough for a team that wants to be in the top 6.
You look at better in possession. I mean, it was 55% possession first half. It was even Stevens the second half. So, they've had more possession. They've created more chances. But the key thing is that only 2 shots on target the entire game, and none of those in the second half. Nothing on target in the second half. When you're chasing the game as Newcastle became, the only player to really take an effort from distance was Fabian Schär, which was just an absolute shambles. The delivery into the box was poor. Murphy, I mean, even the one that was offside, I mean, despite the fact he's offside, you've got an open opportunity to square the ball to Callum Wilson, and you fuck that up. And
mate.
I know he's offside and it wouldn't have counted, but fucking hell, that's not that hard.
I'm sorry, all this Murphy love, right? Because he's quirky and he's funny on the videos for the socials, right? He's just shit footballer. He's got no fucking brain at all. Stop talking about the Spurs game. You know, even a fucking sun shines of a dog's arse once upon a time. You know what I mean? He dines out on that fucking game. He's not good enough, right? And neither's Miggy either. Just spare a thought, by the way, for Hyperbole, who's in Vietnam and he waited till 3 a.m. in the morning for this. I mean, Jesus Christ. You would have seen more tits watching TVX, or probably slightly less tits watching TVX than you saw watching Newcastle United, if that's still a thing. Chibbers has been a member for a month. Thank you very much, Chibbers. He says it's time for Eddie to go. Not good enough. Clusterfuck. And Steve is feeling generous tonight with a super chat. Thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate that, mate.
Thank you very much.
With a huge thing. And Hyperbole has been a member for 10 months as well. And he says these fucking international breaks, absolutely. Dan's been a member for 7 months. Thanks for that support, Dan. We were figured out 2 seasons ago. Need a change. In games like this, Mark, they do ask that question again. Where's the answers? I mean, every time Eddie Howe seems to get into this situation, he seems to do something to pull himself out. This is another situation right now because, we've got Palace away coming at the weekend, right? And if we put in a good performance and get a win there, then, the questions will start to disappear again, right? But off the back of that, we've got fucking Liverpool at home who are flying at the minute, right? That could be a bloodbath if we turn up like that against Liverpool at St. James's Park. And then we've got Brentford away and Leicester at home. So out of those games, I'd say 3 of the 4 of them are winnable games. But if Newcastle have another mare against Palace and then get battered by Liverpool, what's the conference going to be like then?
Yeah, Palace at the weekend as well looked a little bit better than they had done previously. They've been pretty competitive of late. I know
the rest has probably done them well, Mark. It's probably done them well as opposed to the opposite it was, I think.
Yeah,
like West Ham, are they?
But they've got players that will affect the game again going forward and can break well. And particularly if they do look to break with pace, they can absolutely do that. That could be a difficult one, but you'd expect the Newcastle to go and win that. The way that the season's gone, the way that performance has been of late up until tonight. But yeah, the Liverpool game is next week, isn't it?
Right? Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah. Wednesday night? Is it Wednesday night? Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the way they're playing. They've been phenomenal. You can get at them, but they have that knack now of just being able to do enough to get over the line. And Salah...
They've still got that quality, Salah, Diaz.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got that quality. Kev will be on for as long as we're going to moan about that game, mate. So we'll probably be on until 2 a.m. I think at this rate, mate. So stay tuned, Kev. Stay tuned, Kev. Baz is saying absolutely no connection between the CBs and the midfield. I think that's a bang-on comment, Baz. For me, I've said this before, Mark, on so many videos. Fabian Schär looks a shadow of the player that he was the last couple of seasons. I think going to the Euros has really fucked him. I think age has caught up on him. I think he looks like he's half a step off. He's still got that quality and that touch and all that, but positionally, I think he takes a little bit more time than he should do. He gets us in trouble. He tries a Hollywood pass too much and gets us under pressure. Again, Kelly was really poor tonight. Missed Burn massively, but we missed Botman even more. But for me in January, our right-sided centre-half is a must in terms of signing somebody with a bit of pace, somebody who can play with the ball, because that Wan-Bissaka chance tonight, I think the right-sided centre-back with pace comes across and closes that angle off, because Kelly was all over the fucking place. He really, really was. Or Botman closes that off if he's playing left-sided centre-back. Even Dan Burn closes that off for me. It could just be a question of Kelly's not quite right for this team. But even when we signed Kelly, Mark, if you remember, I wasn't massively overexcited. I thought he was a good squad player. And the first couple of outings I saw of him, I was really very underwhelmed. And I'm yet to see anything from Lloyd Kelly to show me that he's worth 150 grand a week, or that he's any better. He's any better than Jamal Lascelles, or even fucking Kraft, or even Dummett at centre half. I'm sorry, I can't see anything on there that tells me Lloyd Kelly's a better player than any of them three. So
yeah, I mean, to go back, I mean, I get the wanting a centre back with a bit of pace. I think particularly where Fabian Schär is, if you have to play alongside Botman, I think that's a must going forward. But it's just awareness. Lloyd Kelly has to be aware enough to go and close that ball down for Wan-Bissaka's goal. I'll go back to it again. He takes 2 steps forward and he gets in the way. Get your body in the way of the ball, and that doesn't go in the back of the net. That's as simple as the game can be at times. And he just didn't.
Interesting question. That's what I don't think he did, Stephen. I don't think he did. Why did Eddie buy Tonali? I don't think he did. I think that was Ashworth. Yeah,
but is there still a question mark? And I don't know whether it will be true or we'd ever find it out. But was the thinking behind the Tonali purchase that Bruno wasn't going to be there still? And
I think that carries a lot of weight. I think that argument carries a lot of weight. You're right, Joe. The international break has totally screwed us once again. We always seem to do that, find a bit of form before the international break, and then we get back to bloody losing games. I think you're right, Mark. I think they were adamant that Bruno was going to go, and I think that's what Tonali was signed for. But I mean, I don't want to turn this into a Sean Longstaff kind of pitchfork exercise, because that doesn't go down very well with a lot of the fan base. With some of the fan base it does, and some of them it don't. But my whole opinion on Sean, as I've said numerous times, I like Sean as a kid. I think he's a really good lad. But for me, I just think that he's limited in certain games. And I think when you don't have a lot of the ball and teams dig in against you with a low block, Sean isn't the player for that game. You need somebody to get the ball, make something happen, either draw defenders out to them so spaces open up, and then a player with vision who can find those passes for Isak making that run. That is not Sean Longstaff's game. And I blame the manager for this. I don't blame Sean for this, because Sean will play for Newcastle any opportunity he gets, rightly so. He's a Geordie boy, and that's exactly what he's going to do. And he'll give us all for the team when he plays, right? So that's what I'm going to say about Sean Longstaff. But he's a limited footballer with regards to being on the ball. He'll run all day for you. He'll graft. He'll throw his body on the line. And he's great in games like when we beat Arsenal. It's a great game for Sean Longstaff. But in a game like tonight, I think Eddie gets it wrong. I think he has to start Tonali in a game like that, because we have to know we're going to have more of the ball, and we need players who can use the ball better. It's not a slag off the Longstaff. It's a fact that Tonali's better on the ball. I think Louis Miley's better on the ball than Sean Longstaff. I'd have played either one of them, if they've both been available, of course, over Sean. But Eddie won't do it. And I bet you, if anybody challenges on him, but not that any of the journalists will, because they've got no balls whatsoever, no fucking balls to challenge the manager and any of these decisions whatsoever, because they want to be his best buddy and go listen to Aha records with him and walk down the beach with his fucking dog and all that. Grow a pair of nuts, journalists, and ask a real fucking question for once. There's only one journalist I've ever heard ask a real question, and that's Craig Hope. The rest of you are a bunch of bottling shithouse weasels. Do your fucking job and stop kissing the manager's arse. So anyway, just back to my conversation about that. Sorry, Mark. That it annoys me that people don't challenge this manager on why he's not playing Tonali in a game that is right for Tonali. That's my point.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Craig Hope's asked some absolute horror questions as well. So,
well, he has. But at least he asks them, Mark. But at least he asks.
Well, there is that.
What do the rest of them do? What do you prefer, Blue or Oasis? Fuck off, man. They don't ask any proper questions at all, man. The bottle merchants.
The most one was what's her face when she started asking about Tonali, which was a complete lack of class. Well, but that's a different story.
She's a bad example because she's a prick. But the rest of them don't ask proper questions, mate. They're too scared of. They want to be the manager's buddy. They don't ask him any hard questions.
On the Tonali Sean thing, and I get that there are going to be games where Sean Longstaff is a perfect fit for. We saw that against Arsenal. He was perfect in that role, where the amount of time on the ball is going to be really limited. You want the workhorse. You want the player to get in the opposition faces, to put himself about, to run backwards and forwards, and to basically just be a workhorse for the entire 90 minutes. And there are games where you're going to play against lesser opposition where you want the ball. And if you're going to dominate possession, and it wasn't quite so dominant in terms of possession tonight, but Newcastle's had more of the ball, particularly in the first half, you want to do more with it. And Tonali just gives you more. There were a couple of balls immediately when he came on that were just far better than what Sean had done up until that point. And at that point, it's really difficult. I think the change in formation tonight as well, that change from the 4-3-3 to the 4-4-2 when Tonali came on, and you saw immediately him swap to Bruno and Tonali as a 2 in midfield and with the 2 wide players. That all, while I understood what was trying to happen, it all left Newcastle really exposed in midfield, because as soon as one of the midfielders stepped out, that was it. They were getting overrun, and it's a really, I'd say, almost an odd way to have approached that. But certainly, first half wise, I want a player like Tonali on the ball, creating opportunities, playing those balls through, playing balls like Lewis Hall was playing from left back. Do you know what I mean? I want that ability on the ball when my team is going to dominate the football. It's as simple as that. And as hardworking as Sean Longstaff is, and as good of an effort he was always put in, and he's been really, really great for the last couple of games, and take that away from him. There are moments when you need to change, and you need to make an alteration to your tactics and to the way that you set up. And Eddie, not balled it, but he had the opportunity to have done that tonight and didn't.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. We've got some other super chats coming in. Graham Ritchie, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate that. Don't know where to start. So disappointing. Many players didn't show up. The final ball was bloody awful. Eddie has his work cut out. Absolutely. And Omar is saying the Paul from TTR recommended to come over and watch us. Thank you so much, Omar. We're very happy to have you here. Paul is a top man, absolute top man. Today was just a one-off. Don't worry, lads. He's feeling positive, absolutely. But first time, and he says, good show. Thank you so much. George is saying, NUFC woohoo and all whinge. I mean binge. Absolutely, George. Well, we're here to try and keep you on the level, mate. On the level, as best as we can from that performance. There's so many comments tonight, guys. Thank you so much.
Unbelievable number of comments. Thank you for
keep hold of all of these. I'm just kind of scrolling down as quick as I can. You're smashing them all in before I even get that. I think I'm about half an hour behind, to be honest with you. But bloody hell, good comment there from Paul. Who coaches corners? I think it's Jason Tyndall, and he's shite at it, Paul. I think whether it's attacking or defending. And I really, again, he's somebody you can't question either, because he's got this weird mad dog kind of tag. It started off as banter, but now it's become quite evil. Not evil, so that's a too strong a word. Become this kind of force field around him. That means you can't criticize him either, which is just, again, ludicrous. Bruni saying Spot and Chris looked like an early season. Absolutely, it did. It looked really, really shit. Just complete lack of desire. I'm going to try and get through as many comments as we can, Mark, to be fair. There's loads of them here. Derek is saying, how can I answer teams that let us have possession and nick a goal? We seem to have no answer. And do you know what I think the biggest problem is with that, Mark, is, again, the personnel. As I've just said there, he's not playing the right players to break down low blocks. And he's got them in his arsenal, but he won't play them. And we said this in the Champions League season. Why is he not rotating the squad? Why is he not using players for particular jobs where you can see their skill set is going to be good at it? And he just doesn't do it.
Sorry, I've just seen this come in. No, he's not.
I'm sure you'll give him a 19-year contract, Todd, which is what you guys do. But do you know, why aren't we trying that shit in Newcastle? Why aren't we trying that? The long-term contracts for players. I know you can't, but why weren't we trying it when you could do it? Why weren't we trying it?
It's that little bit of ingenuity with stuff like that. And you go, why were Chelsea the only team to really have done it? How did they all of a sudden go, do you know what? We'll give players an 8-year contract and then we can get around the PSR? As soon as that happened, when you guys are going, well, why can't we do that? Do you know what I mean? Let's jump in and go and do it. I know they closed the loophole pretty quickly, but that was madness. But no, he's not for sale.
I agree with Julie. We will not beat Liverpool. There's absolutely no way we will.
You
beat
just
Liverpool.
can't see it the way things are.
But not with the way we're playing.
The benefit of being able to look back a little bit, would you have gone into the Arsenal game and gone, yeah, they're going to take 3 points from that?
Well, that's very true. Listen, at St James's Park, if we show up and war flags are doing display, by the way, brilliant for war flags tonight with Isak.
Absolutely.
Amazing display. But if war flags get the place rocking, the fan base is rocking, the players stand up, we can beat anybody at St James's Park. We've shown that, we've proven that. But I mean, that Liverpool team seems to have something that a lot of Liverpool teams maybe didn't have. They had the quality and the skill, but they didn't have the kind of steeliness to dig into games that were slipping from them and come back from the brink of games that you thought they were going to lose. But this lot do. So I'm very, very concerned about getting anything against them, to be brutally honest with you. But I wouldn't expect them. I wouldn't expect us to either, to be fair. But thank you very much, Omar. I really appreciate that. I hope we will see you hang around a bit longer, buddy.
I'm just going to sorry, I was going to just touch on one thing, going back to the game. We haven't mentioned this at all. How the hell was this not a penalty?
I was getting to that. I mean, I thought Wilson. Yeah, sorry. I thought Wilson did look a bit sharp when he come on, and that was good to see. He made some decent runs and that, but that was an absolute fucking disgrace. Tim, who's in the chat, Tim knows me, and he sent me a WhatsApp, and he said, "What were VAR watching?" And I just replied, "Netflix," because there's no fucking way. There's no way they're watching that foul. If they're watching that foul and they don't think that's a free kick, then a lot of you go to Specsavers and fucking quit your jobs, because that is a blatant penalty, an absolute blatant penalty. He's got him by the neck and he's pulling him down. Wilson's getting to that ball with his head. Right, the keeper might save it, but unless the defender does what he does to him, Wilson's getting to that ball with his head, and that's a penalty. I mean, would we have won the game? I don't know. The way our luck was going, Wilson and Isak would have argued over it, and whoever won it would have skied it, probably, knowing our fucking luck. But that was a penalty, and I'm shocked at that. I'm shocked it wasn't given.
I'm stumped. I'm genuinely stumped by it, because you watch a defender claw over the back of Callum Wilson and stop him get to the ball. That's a penalty all day long. I don't understand. They talk about, it's now got to be a higher threshold. It's a fucking foul. It's a penalty. Foul. There's no argument with that.
The ref has no balls to overrule that, and he should do straight away. He should say that's a pen. Look at the monitor. That's a pen.
I get from the referee's point of view, if he's behind the play, he can't see the arm over the top as such. I understand that, but VAR have to look at that and go, "You've missed something. Go and have a look at it again." That's what it's for.
I mean, we might even do a separate video on this, Dazzler, because I've been starting to wonder this as well. Tonali and Bruno do not work. I mean, we've not seen them given enough opportunities to play together to see if they can work, really, because he seems to have this need to play Longstaff instead of Tonali. But do you think they don't work, Mark? Do they just not work together as a two? We're not seeing enough of it yet.
I'm not sure that they're the right fit to play together. Maybe we haven't seen them enough, which is the first thing. But if Eddie's going to continue with the 4-3-3 as he does, because that's the default position, then he's got to try and find a way to get his best players in that side. And at times, I mean, we may see a period of time where Bruno's not there, especially if he now comes off, as he's come off injured, he might not be fit enough to play at the weekend. So that may be an irrelevant conversation for the next couple of games, but it's an odd. You go back and watch Tonali play at Milan. He played in a 2, quite comfortably, but with a more defensive-minded player alongside him. He was allowed to roam a little bit more. He plays the left side of the 3 well as well. For Italy, we've seen him do that. We've seen on the right side of sort of midfield a little bit further forward for the under-21s as well. I think it's about finding the right position for Tonali to play in. I just don't think Eddie knows what really do with him in that regard yet, and he wants to play Bruno, but
you've got to play Bruno because Bruno is the most creative midfielder that we have. You have to play him because the rest of that midfield aren't capable of making that pass. I actually think Louis Miley has that in him. I know it's a lot of pressure put on a young lad, but we saw it in glimpses at 17 years old. And Bruno is the only other player that I've seen thread passes through to the centre forward to do something from midfield, apart from Willock when he pulls out wide. But you kind of drop Bruno. I mean, what do you think about what Sophie's saying there? I think Eddie wants Sean to sign a contract, then he'll drop him. Squad player at very best. I mean, that seems to be a bit of a dangerous game to play, Mark, if Sophie's right there. Playing Sean just so he signs a new deal.
But I think if he does get well, yeah, it's a dangerous game if you're going to play because you run the risk of running into trouble by playing a player that potentially isn't good enough. But you've seen games where he is good enough to play in that position. So I think get him a new deal. He's then got sell-on value at very least. You don't want him to run his deal out and then go for absolutely nothing because that hurts the club even more.
Kelly's getting some belters here in the comments, mate. Rightly so, to be fair.
Right. But there was one question I was going to ask, and we've seen other clubs do it, and given where financial fair play and all that bollocks lives at the moment, is there an argument to make as much money as possible on one of the marquee players and rebuild using that? So, for example, with Bruno's release clause, would you sanction £100 million or close to sale if that then is utilised to then
allows you to reinvest?
Yeah. We've seen it from other clubs that have done that. So, is that something that you would do? Because you have to grow, and that influx of cash from something like that, would that be a good move long term? I know it's going to be painful as hell in the short term, and I'm not saying that I want that to happen.
No, but if you look at that midfield position though, out of all those players, if we were to lose Bruno, I'll get into that question in a minute because I think that's a hilarious question. But that midfield position, you've got Sandro Tonali, right? You've got Joe Willett, you've got Joe Linton, you've got Louis Maidi, and you've got Sean Longstaff at the minute. You've got 5 players there who can play in that position, right? If we sold Bruno for 100 million and reinvested that in a £50 million right winger and a £50 million centre half, which strengthens 2 massive key areas in the team, then to me that's probably money well spent because you've got the cover in the midfield. Yes, you're putting a lot of pressure on Sandro, a lot of pressure on maybe Louis Maidi to be that creative force in midfield. But to me, I think out of all the what you call the star players at the minute, arguably, as much as I'm happy that he's staying and all that, but you look at Barnes, you look at Gordon, you could flog one of them too, and cash in on one of them too potentially, and you wouldn't get 100 million. I don't think for them.
No.
Question, David's question is before you jump in. What do I think of Sergio Ramos on a free? I think Sergio Ramos is a fucking lunatic. And I think he's 35 years old and he's probably got more chance of getting more red. 38, sorry, more chance of getting more red cards than he ever did before. And from a man who has more red cards than appearances, I think it's a huge no for me. And I think it's all paper talk. What do you think about Ramos, Mark?
I think when we've suggested signing centre backs that have pace, I think signing a 38-year-old Sergio Ramos kind of goes against that. It kind of goes against the whole ethos or the whole makeup of the transfer.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, to be fair.
No.
I don't think it's gonna. What do you think about Mark Gahey, though? Do you think we'll go back in for Gahey in January?
Oh, the Gahey saga. Part 2. Like the right price, yes. But if they're going to be dicks about it again, you walk away and you find another option. He's not played anywhere close to being a 60, 70, 80 million pound centre back. There's absolutely no way I would sanction that amount of money for him. If you got it to closer to 40, yes, I think that's probably a good deal, and he's a long-term choice at centre back then. But test the water. If that's getting nowhere, bye-bye, move on, go and find someone else.
Move on. I'd be very reluctant to even pick up the phone to Steve Parish after the way he behaved in the summer. Sean's saying we thought the Champions League season was beginning, but maybe it was the end of the beginning. I mean, I think we've said this before, Mark, and we won't roll back on it. If Eddie Howe doesn't get, I think, Champions League this season, I think he's out on his arse. I think he's done. I think he's out. Some people will say top 6, but I think if he doesn't get top 4, he's out. I think the Saudis will flick him, and I think they'll bring somebody in who can get it and win a trophy.
Yeah, I think that was always the thing. It was Europe or bust. I think this season for him, unfortunately for Eddie, and there are no extenuating circumstances this season. That there isn't the injury crisis that there was. There's a couple of injuries still knocking around, but there isn't that that huge injury problem that there was last season. There's no reason you could go, well, you kind of have to give him another year because he's had all of this to deal with. He's not. You've had the transfer window. Excuse the cat in the background.
It's moving better than fucking Lloyd Kelly was, mate. I tell you that, to be fair. So.
You've had a transfer window, as crap as it might have been. You've got another one to come. I think that's it. I think if there is no European football at the end of this season, then Eddie Howe moves on, and it's on to thank you next. I'm sure that's the name of a song, isn't it?
Thank you next. I'm pretty sure it is, and I know it's on your Spotify playlist. Don't you even kid on you. You try and act like you're all fucking cool. I know it is. Graham's had enough of that. He says, sell them all. Imagine the PSR kitty as well. And I think Hyperbole gifted 5 more memberships.
I think that's 15 tonight, Hyperbole. So wow, you are an absolute lunatic. But thank you very much, mate. You're
an absolute
a legend.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Tim saying, who the fuck is buying Bruno, Isak or Gordon when they're playing like they are? Chelsea, Tim, on a 9-year contract.
Where's Todd Bowley gone?
Where's Todd gone? Todd's fucked off to check the coffers, I think, in the offshore account, possibly. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, again, like I said, before we finish up tonight, good shout, Anthony. There, they'll give Howe at the end of the season if you don't get any form of Europe. He's gone. That's exactly what I agree, Anthony, 100%. Yeah. This all goes back to the manager now. That he has to get a more positive response from the players after tonight. He has to get, yes, George, podcast in the house. He has to get a positive reaction from the players on Saturday. He has to get it. And then Wednesday will be very much a free hit, I think. And Wednesday's the kind of game Newcastle might just get something because everyone writes us off. Sky will be having their bloody, the We Love On slot fucking show, where everything's about Liverpool and Carragher's like they were tonight. They spent more time talking about Johnny Evans' fucking shape against Ipswich than they did talking about Newcastle and West Ham, which again was an embarrassment for that shit show of a fucking network. Watch the Toon review prior to any Newcastle game rather than those wankers. And to be fair, I think the Toon review recommend a lot of you guys to come in. We're thankful for having you. I think Toon review have even got a new channel coming out called Toon Review Extra, which we'll subscribe to, which I think is going to be other football, not just Newcastle football. So massive good luck to the guys with that because the way they cover games is way better than those shit houses at Sky Sports and TNT. So we'll definitely be watching the lads do that as well. But yeah, for me, like I say, Mark, it's all about the reaction from tonight. They've got to step up and do it. All the apologies will come out. We haven't seen any of it, but you can fucking, guess what it is. You don't have to be a fortune teller. Oh yeah, we weren't quite good enough tonight. We can play better than that. We're disappointed. Bruno will tweet, I'm really sorry, everybody. Right, just don't tweet, don't post, just fucking put it right against Palace. That's what we got to do. That's what we want.
Yeah. There's a time for posting. I understand the need to want to get that out and to express that, your feelings about it. And I'm saying don't do that, but performances matter. The performances on the pitch and a performance tonight where if West Ham win because they score 2 fluky goals but are absolutely battered for 90 minutes and Newcastle are really unlucky, then fine. But that was a poor performance tonight from everybody. And as a fan, you don't want to sit there and go, he's apologized. That's fine. We'll move on from that. No, I want a reaction. You want that reaction from the players that come the weekend, that they come out of the trap straight away, get an early goal, set the tone for the game, and then take some confidence into the game against Liverpool. And you mentioned it being a free hit. I think that's normally the games. These are when Newcastle step up, isn't it? And you see a better performance out of them, a better attitude in those games. So you want that to go. You want that to happen. And yeah, absolutely. You spend the rest of the week putting right what's gone wrong. For God's sake, that sodden cat. It's gone nuts.
Digging in deeper than West Ham, that cat, mate. Digging in deeper than the Hammers. Absolutely.
But yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. We haven't said it. We'll close with saying it. We're not sore losers. We were beaten by a team there who did their homework on us, executed a game plan. Fair play to West Ham. Well done. They're under huge pressure. That manager's under huge pressure. And I just thought they dug in and they did a great job against us. And the Hammers fans will rightly so be happy with that. They came a long way. To watch it. So I'm laughing at Roger's comment. Apologies, Chris and Mark, if I missed it. Kelly was shit. Well done, Roger. You've arrived late at the party, but you've smashed it there, mate. Well
pretty much summed up the entire hour.
Pretty much summed up the entire show. Well done, Roger. But yeah, you're right. I just for me, West Ham deserve the credit there. They did a game plan on us. I think Howe really struggles to break down low blocks, and I think a large reason of it is because he's so stubborn with not changing his personnel or his tactics against those teams. He thinks that he can play the same way against Arsenal that he does against West Ham, that he does against Leicester, that he does against Man United, and you just can't. You have to have more adaptability, more flexibility in your tactics, and I don't think Eddie does. Someone called him one-dimensional before in the comments, and I think that's a fair criticism because at the minute you're not seeing that from Howe. We seem to go on a run of games where what Howe wants to do works, but this season, by and large, we ain't been great. We won 3 games on the spin there, but when have you watched us this season and went, oh, Newcastle were brilliant in that game? We just haven't been.
I think for chunks of that Forest game particularly, certainly not for a full 90
Second
minutes.
half we were better. First half we were a bit shit.
Definitely not for an entire game. But I think the one-dimensional thing is a valid argument. We've sort of talked on that before, and even when things are going well, and performances, results are coming. The performances maybe not have been there, but then you hit a run of games, even in the Champions League qualifying season. There were runs of games in that season where things didn't go right, but there was an inability to change. There was an inability to be able to do something about something different. And I'm loath to use the example of likening those situations to Pardew, because I think Eddie Howe is a much better manager than Alan Pardew.
Oh, yeah, Jesus
obviously.
And he doesn't headbutt players either.
Well, exactly. but there are shades of that. If you go back to that 11-12 season where everything was kind of going really, really well for the entire season. But then there were stretches of games where things just wouldn't work, and he hadn't got a clue. He just hadn't got a clue how to change things. And there is that, continue to come back to that problem of in-game management for Eddie Howe, and I don't think he's got it. If things go well, it works. It's great because he can get on and changes. He'll set his standard changes about 60 minutes, and that's fine. But when things don't go well, particularly like tonight, and you look and go, this isn't working, change it. Yeah. Change it early. I've seen managers already this season make changes at 20 minutes, 25 minutes because tactically it hasn't worked. Make a change early. Have another plan. So always
people don't like Mourinho, but Mourinho makes changes, effective changes in games to either win a game or close a game out, and that's what smart managers, experienced managers do. And Eddie's a young manager, so he might get there one day. I feel sorry for Stag there. He says he's in Australia, so he doesn't know who we get for pre-halftime and post-match. But he keeps getting Michael Owen. Why did he keep getting that bag of dicks? Do yourself a favour, mate, and watch the Toon review. I think somebody else has just put that comment in there as well, to be honest with you. Was it Baz? Yeah, Baz had said, get yourself on the Toon review. 100% right. Stag. Definitely watch the guys, especially for me. I'd rather watch Mark's cat take the shit there. He's just been taking in the background than listen to Michael Owen talk about football. That guy is one of the biggest bell ends.
Unbelievable. You get it all on this channel.
Unbelievable footballer, Michael Owen, by the way, but what a boring, dull sack of turd he is. I like Coffee saying, the irony is that before the game, Lopetegui was the manager under pressure, but after this game, Howe is now the one under pressure, no doubt. I mean, I think that says a lot, and what I like Coffee saying there, Mark, it says a lot about where we are as a fan base, because I think there's been too many moments where questions have been asked. Even people like True Faith, who are one of the most positive channels you would listen to in terms of content creators, they're always very kind of measured. They don't go kind of, with hyperbole and stuff like that. They're always very kind of calm in the moment. But even prior to those 3 games being won, you heard that guys at True Faith were asking some difficult questions too, wondering what the fuck was going on. And Eddie has been close to losing a lot of fans this season. And I think he already has lost some of them. And some of them in the comments tonight have already said that. He doesn't need games like this because it puts that pressure on, not just his team selection, but his lack of in-game management, as you say, Mark. When the chips are down, we don't seem to have an answer. And that's something that he has to sort out very quickly if he's going to be a successful manager here or anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And we keep saying, don't we, that he's young enough and he has to learn from it. The trouble is, the more and more we see, when the lack of ability to change things, the lack of ability to manage a game when things aren't going particularly right. You said the word hyperbole in your last one, and just to segue to that,
wow,
I have no idea what that is, but thank you very much. I assume that's given you're in Vietnam, that's Vietnamese dong.
Vietnamese, yeah, it must be. Yeah, we'll get the old currency converter up. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. Marcus is not having the special one, by the way. He's not having the special one. But I do think Jose is definitely sniffing around that job, though. All that talk about, I'll take a club that's not in the top 4. All that talk. And, I do think so. I do think he's after that job.
I think there's a romanticism about Jose at Newcastle, isn't there, with the Bobby links? But is it too gone now? Is it too far beyond not his ability, but beyond his time now for him to come into Newcastle? But he's a born winner.
That's the thing. He wins trophies.
Well, this is it. Could he be? Eddie Howe's been the starting point, so he's been that initial part, save the club from relegation, take them into that next step of the process. Could Mourinho be the one that maybe he only comes in for 2 seasons but wins a trophy? And that's what he does. The domino effect that brings in more trophies down the line.
Chippers thinks he may be better as a director of football, I think, now.
I just think there'll be... the trouble with anything like that is I sort of understand the point, but as soon as things go wrong for the manager, the fans are going to be clamoring for him to step in as manager. And are you going to have a manager that's going to be a strong enough voice to argue against what Mourinho is saying? Can you argue against somebody that's won as much as he has?
Absolutely, it is difficult. Agent Tech says Jose's too old defensive style, Chris. Only old fans want him. Thanks, mate. Man, I'm old. I'm only joking. I don't want Jose yet. I mean, I would like to have somebody. I would like to have somebody who's a little bit maybe more experienced than how Kev's saying. How's our Mark Hughes? That was what the press called him when we first got him. Ken said he'd have Mancini, but didn't the Saudis just bin Mancini? I'm not sure that they'd bring him back in. To be fair,
I didn't know whether that was just Ken saying he wanted Mancini, whether or not he wanted to come.
steady.
There's no preference.
I was going to say, Sensible saying Gordon wouldn't dare play like that for Klopp, Pep, or Jose, but for nice guy Eddie, it's not a problem. I mean, I suppose that is something that follows Eddie around, Mark, as well, isn't it? Is he too nice a guy? I mean, he has got a ruthless side because the players have said that, but I think the problem is as well with Howe is. He's done a brilliant job here, but do the likes of an Isak or Bruno, for example, or even Trippier to an extent, Tonali, when things aren't working, they start to question whether he's making the right decisions. Do they respect him enough? Do you need a manager with a bigger CV to get those guys to go, oh, fuck, I better pull my socks up here?
I don't think there's an issue with respect for him, but is he a big enough personality in that dressing room? I don't know.
Who would be, though? Who would be
questions
in world football now?
It's difficult because, I mean, look at what Brighton have started under. Is it him? I can't remember his name. The young lad that's just gone in at Brighton.
Yeah,
but
the Austrian
again,
lad.
you look at that, but he hasn't got the stature of player in that, in there. And
yeah,
this is why I think my brain still goes back to Mourinho, because of that big mentality, that ability to manage big players in big moments. But it's somebody like, I mean, if Ancelotti leaves Real Madrid, would you take an Ancelotti for
mate,
a
I'd snap Ancelotti up, even for 6 months
available?
to a year.
Would you take Terzic? Is another one that I've just seen J7 in the comments mentioned as well. I know that was the rumor a couple of months ago.
Terrific ones, Brucey. Well, I know he was looking for one of them. That's why I just
we just want the impression.
Yeah, exactly. That's a West Ham fan. He says, I didn't think we beat Newcastle. Well, you did, mate. You very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, all of this stuff. Would you fancy Potter? Says Golden Banjo. Maybe Harry Potter could wave a fucking wand and try and make Lloyd Kelly learn how to defend. Possibly, mate. I think it would probably be the best Potter for us. I wouldn't fancy Graham Potter. I think he's too similar to Howe. I know he played some nice stuff at Brighton, but I think if we move Howe on, I think we need a more proven manager. I would say. Chipper says Brian Potter.
For me, Potter's too much of the same. He's
very much so. Very much
limited into. I mean, look at his time at Chelsea's a basket case at the best time. However, they are starting to look incredible. But when you put him in a squad with, around a squad with some big sort of name players in there, he crumbled. He didn't look very good at all. So. Manager. Do you know what?
Yeah,
it's a funny comment that though, Dean, because there are times when it's a bit of weight in the side. I think that's probably the wrong way to put it. But look at the way Antonio played tonight. Sometimes you've got to do that. Sometimes you've got to have that big bully of a player to go and change the game and just go and dominate defenders.
Do you see that fucker was so big he had to have a special shirt made. The fucking size of that unit, man. He was fucking huge.
I was howling at that. Yeah.
He's a bit, when he took that shirt off, it was a bit like that scene in Predator when they fucking go son of a bitch and smack their hands together with like biceps bubbling. It's like fucking hell. Size.
He's a big dude. I mean, to be fair, I mean again, limited, but does what he's good at really, really well, and
he does.
And they played to his strengths tonight, and he was very good.
Agent Tech says we're still 2 wins off 4th, so maybe we should all just calm down a little bit. I think by the sound of that there, but yeah, who knows? But yeah, I think we certainly have it all to do at the weekend. I would say got to show up against Palace. We'll be back for that. We'll do a preview. We'll do a post match on Saturday after the Palace game, and hopefully we'll be in a better fettle than we were tonight. But thank you so much, everyone who's tuned in tonight. Thank you for all the super chats, all the gifted memberships. You're all absolute legends. Thank you for coming over from the Toon Review. If you've come, I hope you stay a little bit longer. Smash subscribe and help us grow. We're close to 9,000. Mark's dying to say something.
Just say we've just got 8,900 as well tonight. So thank you to everybody that's jumped in and subscribed tonight. You absolutely legends.
Is that hyperbole gifted another 5 memberships there? Has he? Has he done another one there? Another 5 memberships that he's gifted?
I think that might. Is that
from before?
Yeah, it is. My God,
bloody hell!
You're an absolute.
You are the man today, mate. We'll have to try and get you an Evermore mug or something over to you, mate. Absolutely. Let's try and get something sorted.
This is quickly becoming welcome to the hyperbole channel. This is
absolutely
superstar.
Well, Derek smashed that button. Thank you so much, Derek. Really appreciate that, mate. You're absolute star. And thank you for all the lovely comments as well. We really appreciate it. We are very similar to the Toon Review. We speak our mind and we engage you guys in the comments. A lot of channels don't do that. We do that. You guys help make any show that we do, really, certainly the live ones. And especially when we've had a rough night and a rubbish result, it's always good to get it off our chest. So I hope you guys did that. Smash subscribe if you haven't already. Like the channel. Help it grow. We'll be back with some more content soon. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's been a rough day for Newcastle, but let's hope we get back to winning ways on Saturday. Catch you later, everyone. Take it easy.
See ya.